Welcome back. Part number 6. I said I didn't know what would be next and when it would be, but we're back for part 6 here from the media day at Castle Combe. And I've managed to drag in a returnee sponsor this time. And it's brilliant to see him here because it's not just about promoting the company. I love what this company is all about in terms of, we mentioned it with Bath Motor Club, that youngsters coming into engineering is a real struggle at the moment. But it is our Saloon Car Championship, the Castle Combe Saloon Car Championship sponsor and racer in one of my favourite cars, I have to say. Jonathan Wills from South Cerney Engineering. Hello, mate.
Hello, Chris. Thank you very much.
They've dragged you back for another year then.
We have. And yeah, it's a pleasure. We had a lot of fun sponsoring the championship last year. And yeah, our intention was to sponsor it again this year from the outset. So it's a privilege to be associated with the championship. It's been going for many years now. I believe it's an anniversary this year of it. And
yes, you're right. I forgot that. Is it 50, 30? I can't remember.
About 30 years, I think, this year. So hopefully we'll be doing something fun for that.
Yeah, no, that would be good. And I mean, I mentioned that you racing it, of course, in a really different car, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've been racing the championship since the mid-90s, and same car, we haven't updated it.
The MG Maestro.
MG Maestro Turbo, so the green one, yeah, the green monster that's been here on and off for the years. So so we finally got it back on the circuit last year for a few runs. We need to smooth out a few of its running issues, and we'll be back again this year racing that one, which hopefully the crowd will enjoy to see.
But in terms of, I know that you initially got involved as dare I call it, a project of passion, because you've been involved with it, as you say, for a long time. You love it, you believe it, and you really wanted to I think the phrase I was going to use is give something back. Not that it needed anything back from you, but that was kind of almost your mentality. You wanted to support it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, having been involved with it for so long, passionately, and having wanted to race cars since I was at school, and the Combe Saloons has been a large part of my life, wanting to race in it and do well in it over the years. And there's been many characters, you know, that we've met through the years of the championship. So yeah, it's important and it's dear to us, and we want to see it do well this year. We want to see, you know, more cars on the grids. There's been a few regulation changes, and hopefully that's encouraged some new competitors to come out. So yeah, it's important to us. And when we realized we had an opportunity and an alignment with South Cerney Engineering that can sponsor the championship and get business off the back of that as well, it's all sort of fits nicely. There's a synergy there. So.
You mentioned get business off the back of it. Dare I ask the question, how have you found, from the business's perspective, how have you found the sponsorship?
Incredible. Really pleased. The response, the number of people that said, "Oh, we see you sponsor the championship."
Really?
So brand awareness is really being helped, and what it does, it just the brand awareness, especially you sponsor a championship for a period of years, you become associated with it within the south of England, which is primarily our customer base. And being involved in the motorsport arena, which we all know, you know, is a pinnacle of engineering. If you've got stuff doing well in there, people got confidence to come. You know, they see you're involved in that arena, and they got confidence. You know that these cars have to be engineered to a very high degree, and they need to last in the heat of the moment. So it gives your customers confidence that you're going to know what you're doing. So yeah, it's a good fit for us.
No, and that's really good to hear, and I think that hopefully that gives other people the confidence in getting involved with the circuit, the racing club, the championships that we run as well. So it wasn't just that you were already an invested fan, dare we say, it across the board. It's just been a good thing. I know we've touched on this before, and I've mentioned it already. We did have this with Dave Appleby Engineering in here earlier as well. It is an ongoing challenge that getting youngsters into engineering, they think that everything's switched to these plug-in electric cars, but there is so much engineering work still to be done.
Yeah, we've also got the CNC era of engineering. So this is push button stuff. So where people essentially program machines and the machines do the machining. And what we're trying to do is encourage youngsters into engineering where you're using manual lathes, manual turning. So at South Surrey Engineering, we do boring, honing, line boring. So the boring and honing is to do with pistons, getting the pistons to the right tolerance inside the blocks. So if you're overboring an engine or reboring it or whatever, so the surface finish of the cylinder line are very, very important to make sure we get good compression. We've got crank grinding again, but what's happened is with the most engineering, most machining is done electronically with CNC machines, and it's push button stuff, and the manual machining turning has sort of lost traction. Engineering generally in the UK has lost traction. I don't think it's been supported by successive governments. And if people understood, one, how rewarding the job was, two, how skilled you have to be mathematically and attention to detail to do the job right. And there is actually a very bright future for a few people that want to do this. They'll be able to command very good prices because there isn't competition. So anyone doing these jobs, as the older generation are retiring, anyone that is prepared to get into this, get a name for themselves, graft at it, they've got a very bright future and a very interesting future. I mean, South Cerney works on everything from Ferrari 250 GTOs to turbocharged machinery at Castle Combe Saloons to little mini A series, and we'll do the cylinder head refurbishment. We do gas flowing, so performance modifications, and even things such as white metaling. So for pre-war cars, you can't just buy bearing shells and put them onto the bottom end of the engine. You actually have to manufacture the bearing itself from white metal, which means casting and pouring of smelting the metal, then pouring it, and then turning it in a lathe manually. And we're working to like tenths of a thousandth of an inch.
Wow!
And and one hiccup on the handle of the lathe, and all your work's undone. You start again. So
there's a voice of experience.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I mean, it really is, and it amazes me. The world of engineering is so vast in reality that it is a great route. My daughter she's only 13, and she just seems to be a whiz at, amongst other things, maths and probably science with that as well. And you kind of go, she's starting to open up to the world of engineering, which I think is wonderful. Especially there's not enough women in engineering.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
But she's really opening up to it. Equally, for my business, is that we've created some marketing automation system. I call it sausage factory, but that's not what it is, because you feed something in and something else comes out.
Yeah.
This was an engineer by trade that has actually now got into the if this then that kind of software world as well, because it's still that engineering brain, isn't it?
It is engineering brain. Yeah, it is, and it's nice to hear that. And I'd love to get more women. And actually, at South Sony, we've just employed fantastic new person on the front desk called Frankie. She's an absolute petrol head. She's here today. Actually, we're just going to give her a whiz around the track.
Brilliant.
She's involved with the motorcycles, BSB, and it's lovely to have her on our side. She's a younger generation in her 20s, so that's our future. So if we can, more people. And they actually see the fun element of being involved in engineering. And as you mentioned there with the software side, there's so many angles you can branch off to.
Absolutely.
And they're bereft of people we need. And there isn't going to be the competition from abroad that we suffer on mass manufacturing.
Agreed.
These are niche industries that just need the finest brains. So get educated, get your maths, science, very important, and just come along. If you've got somebody that you can help work on their car, engineer, check tire pressures of a race meeting, get a feel for it,
you get the opportunity to apply it. I agree, without question. So, and I know you and I could go on about that for ages, and we got to be careful we don't sound like we're up on our soapbox there, don't we? But we both believe passionately about it. But new season, we've got some reg changes that's we're not going to go into too much detail, I don't think, but in terms of trying to open up to more cars, ergo therefore more drivers entering, was the big ambition.
Yeah, so we worked very hard with Castle Combe, with the championship organisers, and with the current, the competitors from last year, to try and looking at the rules to try. And I think we all know that there's been less cars on the grid over the last 10 years. It's been a tougher world to get people out. So we're looking at the rules to try to understand, are the rules there that were preventing potential competitors that could come and race with us? They might race in other championships and they would race at Combe Saloons, but they wouldn't come because it was a bit restrictive. So we were thinking, well, if the Hot Hatch Championship is for cars closer to the road car, and then can the saloons be opened up to be more weaponized, if you like?
Yeah.
Proper tools.
I like that.
So I think that was a sort of an ethos out there. We'll keep the hot hatches as more economical to run, and then if you really want to open up the modifying, developing, and that. So that was an idea of just maybe encouraging more people. It's a difficult thing to achieve because obviously as soon as you change one rule, it may have a knock-on effect for somebody in the championship, either negatively or positively. So there was a lot of communication between everybody, and it toed and froed for several months. But I think we hit something that overall people are happy with, and we'll have to see. We won't know what's going to happen this season until it happens. We don't know what machinery may come in, and we don't know whether something may come in that causes an imbalance, and if there does, then we'd have to relook at that. I'm just hoping we have some close racing, more cars on the grids, more competitor numbers, greater spectacle for our spectators as well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what happens, and there may be, at the end of the season, there may be another conversation to be had about this has worked or this hasn't. But we got to try something, and I think people realise that.
What for people that may end up seeing this, what kind of cars then could this be opened up to that it hasn't been thus far?
Well, what we looked at was other championships and what their rules were, in a way, kind of, so there might be a weekend where someone's not got a race in their championship and they can come over for Combe. So that was one approach, and then looking at their rules. So, and there were some of the classic touring car championships, maybe some rear-wheel drive Cosworth Mark II Escort. So maybe some of the older machinery that's actually pretty competitive, it was allowed out somewhere. And what we wanted is that their championship might allow different suspension mods, and they might be on slicks, but it wouldn't cost them anything to put on our treaded tires and come and race. So they could, for the sake of a few £100s, get their car ready to come and race in hours. So there was, like I say, some of the classics, and then we were looking at some of the current championship single make series championships that are currently out there. And so we were looking at what we found was that most of the modified machinery might have a wing and a splitter on the front, so they look a bit more motorsport. So a little bit of aero front and rear, nothing too wild, but a bit of aero, so the cars look a bit more racy. Look motorsport, I think is the term. There were some suspension mods where they were very restrictive originally, that you had to retain the exact as it was. It was freed up to allow people to play with the suspension a bit more.
Okay.
So we were looking at, some of the MG championships. MG championships are very well, big numbers in that world, to maybe encourage some of them simply because of the sheer number of people competing, and that's for further down the grid, maybe the ZRs and stuff, maybe some of the Tomcats, and then going forwards into the Fast Four Championship, and there might be a car sat in a garage that's not raced for a few years that could just be in Bradford-on-Avon or somewhere, and they would have raced it, but it was too much to change to get it here. And maybe we've encouraged that person to get a license again, and I can run that car in Combe just without, maybe even if they're doing the odd invitation race. They might do a couple races a year because they can't afford to do a whole season. But they might come and do a June, a June race or August race. So that's what we're hoping for.
So I guess the reality is, if in doubt, ask the questions again now, because you may well find that suddenly you can come and play again.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the fact you mentioned the Tomcats, for example. I remember when the Tomcats were a big deal here.
Yeah.
I think Adam Preble was probably the last one piloting the Tomcat in the Saloon Car Championship, and he was deeply gutted that he could no longer race that in Combe. And we were lucky with him that we didn't lose him
altogether. Yeah,
but we very nearly did, because that was his car.
Yeah. And that was the shame of see, that's going back in the day when the grids were full. We had, when I was racing in the 90s, we had grids of 44 cars.
Yeah.
And when I turned up to race, we were hoping that 4 people would drop out in qualifying to allow me to get on the back of the grid, because you had 4 reserves.
Yes.
Mega. So when the championship was very full of cars, they could exercise quite strong regs because they had people knocking at the door.
Yeah.
And then they decided they wanted a championship, and they decided to expel some of the older machinery. And I think that was a real shame. It actually stopped us racing as well. So we were binned along with Gary in that. It was the championship became sort of a post-2000 championship. I actually wrote a letter to the championship about 3-4 years ago saying, I want to come and race. My car sat in the garage. I'd love to come and race it, but I can't because of this rule. And you've only got 15 cars on the grid. And they said, yeah. So that allowed us to come back in.
Got you.
And then we come into this point where we were sponsoring the championship, and then we were sort of had a nice conversation with the championship organisers, and we need the championship to be successful. The circuit needs it, the club needs it, and
us fans want it.
If you remember, Adam and Gary had the most tremendous battles in that Tomcat.
Yeah,
with everyone from Mark Wyatt to when Adam raced,
Tony Hutchins in his TT against them. Wow, Hutchins. It was like gloves off at times.
It was brilliant. The fans loved it. I loved watching it.
Yeah,
fantastic. So different era now. The world's a different place.
And that's the balancing act that we've got to go with, is that it's all too easy to kind of sit there with this misty eye to going, oh, but it was back then. It's like, look, times are different. So it's not that we're necessarily going, we expect to have reserves necessarily. I know it's a target, but it doesn't mean we can almost expect it, and the fighting might be different, the speeds are going to be different. But if we're looking at, okay, the numbers are down, that's why there's been this collective look at it and go, right, let's open it up without being wholesale changes. That's the mistake that can happen. This has probably been the biggest change for a long time, probably since the removal of the historic stuff, I would imagine. And then there might just be some fine tuning over the coming years.
That's exactly it. First of all, hats off to the fast current machinery out there. It's very, very well developed and very, very quick. And I think the changes that we've introduced are the biggest set of changes that I know of since the inception of the championship.
Oh, really?
Okay. Because where they were chucking cars out and just making the rules tighter, we've really thrown them open. So where the championship might have a one odd tweak here or there, we've had really a wholesale change of ethos in the championship, allowing them to be the faster, be winged. We've never really allowed error in the championship ever.
No.
And that's now allowed. And I'm hoping we'll see some quite nice looking cars on the grid, that I say just look more wow. So whether the speeds will come up or not, I don't know, possibly.
And that's why one that I've seen today that has moved from GTs back into the saloons, Hayden King.
Yeah,
because that's a rather bewinged Seat, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, that's right.
And he's back in the championship that he used to have a well of a time in.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, and like you say, we'll see what happens during the course of the year. It will ebb and flow, and then we'll take a view on it at the end of the season and see what's worked, what's not worked, whether we can tweak it anywhere, and hopefully, we'll have more full grid and get the championship talked about. It was one of the fastest championships in the country
100%.
back in the day. Like I say, when you had 40 cars on the grid, I mean, it was action from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to have the GT championship here with Formula 3. It did. We attracted a lot of crowds in that championship.
And that included even when it was, if you remember, Motors TV, when that used to exist, and we'd have Motors TV live showing one of the rounds, and it was one of the TV viewing favourites as well.
It was the Combe Saloons.
Yeah.
Yes, it was on Motors TV. That footage, I think, still on YouTube. You can find
absolutely
with Adam Racing and that. Good history.
No, it is. It is. Well, listen. So good to see you back again, and not just sponsor. There's a vested interest both as a driver and the sponsor with the engineering knowledge as well. So congratulations for your return, for your involvement. Thank you for all of it as well. And here's to a fabulous 2025.
Thank you very much. And I want to just thank all the competitors at making the effort to come out this year and be involved with the championship. It's a lot of work, testing, developing, and money that goes into these cars. And as a sponsor, I'd like to thank everybody that comes out and puts their time and effort to put on a great show for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, Jonathan Wills, South Cerney Engineering, Saloon Car Championship sponsor. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll see you later. I have no idea what's happening. This might be the last one. There might be one or two more. I genuinely don't know. Keep your eyes peeled. Cheers.